This Friday, see what critics are calling a cold-blooded masterpiece.
Hello, Finney.
You're dead.
Dead is just a word. Did you think our story was over?
Discover the secret
He brought us here for a reason.
behind the mask.
What do you think happens when you die? It's time to find out.
Ethan Hawke,
I'm not afraid of you.
You should be.
Black Phone 2, only in theaters Friday. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
It's not day or night. It's kind of half night, you know? And I'm scared like I can't tell you. And you're scared. I get even more frightened when I see how afraid you are, and then I realize what it is.
Halloween, or whatever movies, 2025.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother,
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie, Wes's favorite, Bros Broing Down, the Kinderman Dyer spinoff, Halloween 2025 at Or Whatever Movies, Exorcist III.
Did you rewatch The Exorcist?
No.
Man, because Exorcist 3 gets hairy, especially when he starts doing the animal noises. And the nurse.
Wait, how is that?
Comes and like coming after Julie and stuff when morning is introduced. But dude, I could not remember if Kinderman makes friends, dedicated friends with Father Dyer in the theatrical cut. Indeed, he does not. It's in the version you've never saw, the director's cut, basically, of The Exorcist. But I watched the entire Maren Karras, Reagan McNeil exorcism scene in the first one. And Exorcist 3 doesn't hold a candle to the terror.
In terms of terror, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
It's, I mean, well, the whole thing, the beginning is Bros Burning Down, and then it's like, and then 2/3 of it is a detective mystery.
Yep.
It's like Powers of Darkness.
How is it that it is like Powers of Darkness to you?
Well, in that the bulk of the story is a detective mystery. And then, of course, there's Gemini Karras going all Renfield.
Yep.
It's kind of like The Simpsons, and then there's a Ned Flanders.
The Simpsons, it's Ed Flanders, not to be confused with Ned Flanders.
To be confused with Ned, is Ned Flanders not based on Ed Flanders?
I cannot imagine he is. Ned Flanders is kind of silly. And Ed Flanders, at least portraying Father Dyer, is pretty clever. They have this repartee that's fun and speaks of old friends, and they insult each other, and they're very quick.
Which is established in what you called the director's cut ending, and what I've seen people reference as the 2000 ending. Can you tell me more about this?
I just know that it was the William Friedkin cut was changed to include things, most famously the spider walk scene where Reagan is upstairs making noise and all of a sudden she comes down the stairs inverted doing this like weird crazy spider crawl and blood comes out of her mouth and she goes, ah.
Wait, how does she go?
Ah. But they also included more to the book that Joe Kinderman, who is not a very major character in The Exorcist, makes friends with Father Dyer and invites him to the movies.
Yeah, so how are we supposed to understand that Kinderman and Dyer have a history if the majority of the people who aren't Exorcist nerds and horror nerds haven't seen this director's cut ending?
Well, I don't know if you know, but The Exorcist was actually based on a book preceding the movie by 2 years. Isn't that interesting?
I do know this because we discussed it in our review of The Exorcist, available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts.
So what's the title of the movie we're discussing today?
Exorcist III.
Is it?
Is it not?
So there are a couple different titles.
The Exorcist III.
The Exorcist was written by William Peter Blatty and directed by William Friedkin, and completely overlooked and ignored. It doesn't exist in their canon, The Exorcist II. And when they came back together for Exorcist III, they had some creative differences. William Friedkin dropped out. Blatty decided instead to take his idea and make a novel, another novel, an Exorcist novel, which he called Legion. So some cuts of this movie are called Legion or Exorcist III Legion. In the case of Amazon Prime, it's Exorcist III The Legion, which is weird. But so this movie on the DVD cover that I have is, and on the title screen of the movie, William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist III.
And that's what's burned in to the title card of the film.
Right. And the novelist picked up directorial reins and decided to make his movie a novel without William Friedkin, which is very Stephen King of him. And so William Peter Blatty, Kinderman in Exorcist III, says Damien Karras was my best friend. I loved him. And he had only spoken to him in passing in the movie version, to say nothing of Father Dyer. But William Peter Blatty is doing his novel, his version of the film. So he retconned it in 3 that they had been friends forever, and that he and Father Dyer had been friends for a long time.
Were they friends in the novel?
Yes.
So Damien and Kinderman, friends in the novel. Dyer and Kinderman established a friendship at the end of Exorcist I, although it's only in the director's cut. So does Kinderman just have like a thing for priests?
I guess so. Maybe Father Dyer took over, became his priest movie confidant buddy after the untimely death of Father Karras.
I mean, it's a little bit like the girls being like, we want to get a silver Siberian cat and name her Mimo too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of an ick factor to him picking up Father Dyer at the end of Exorcist I. No?
Well, this is movies, and movies are about money. So nothing involving money is done in bad taste, right?
I'm not sure that I can agree to that, but okay, point taken.
It's a little bit, but they're basing their desire for a Mimo 2 on the original Mimo. But it's fine because animals are different. People want to believe it's the same animal. It's not Bart the bear.
Bart the bear. The Edge?
So many Barts. There are like 4 Barts. Yep.
Was Bart the bear in The Edge the original Bart the bear?
Yeah.
And then there's been multiple Bear Barts since then?
Yep. In The Edge, where we saw Bear Bart butt.
Our discussion for which is available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. What did Bart the bear sound like?
I'm going to do bear noises just because. It didn't sound like the animal noises that various characters in this movie made. But the bear is like.
Anyway, no turning of heads backwards in Exorcist III. What's up with that?
Well, it depends on how much you expect Exorcist III to be like The Exorcist, when in fact William Peter Blatty was forced to name this movie Exorcist III, because that's certainly not what he named his novel. Like I said, it was Legion, and there wasn't even an exorcism in his director's cut of this movie.
So the morning Karras Gemini scene was forced?
Yes.
Or done after?
Yes,
What?
it's so crazy. Iris, did you know that there is a variation, maybe even a director's cut of the novel Dracula published under the name of Powers of Darkness?
Was it written by Bram Stoker?
It could very well have been. Remains to be seen. Someone should do a podcast about that and put it out, maybe under the Or Whatever Movies banner, and call it Powers of Darkness. If such a thing were to exist, it would be available now.
At orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts?
Right. At the very beginning, I wanted it to be a movie that's become a fan favorite, and in particular is remembered for one very specific scene, what some people have called the biggest jump scare in the history of movies.
What? Let me guess. when the nurse or the doctor or maybe one of the old friends comes out into the ward hallway with the shears?
Yes, the nurse, goes into the room in question and nothing happens to her. And it's got the same eerie blue light emanating, leaves the room, closes the door, turns and locks it with their keys, and then turns around and immediately the door opens and those shears are coming after her. Did you jump?
I definitely was scared. Well, for one, it's basically the first scare of the movie. It defies physics. It's very mysterious. It's surprising and it's mysterious.
This movie was actually given to me on the strength of that scene alone. I met a guy named WJ in Indianapolis a million years ago. We bonded over movies when I worked at Hollywood Video. And then he came to visit me when I returned to California and handed me this DVD and was like, it's the craziest scare ever. And I was like, okay. So I always remembered that. And WJ, who passed away because I think in a way he was possessed.
Really?
He had claimed to be cursed. He would show up randomly with gashes all over his face and say he didn't know how it happened. He said he woke up and there was a giant, like, burrito-sized turd on his blanket and it was all slimy.
Wait.
Like, it couldn't have been
Ew.
an animal. It was maybe too big to be a human turd. And he believed,
Wait.
honestly, I think
What's happening?
he believed that he was cursed. I heard that he got hit by something in the head so hard mysteriously that he lost color in one of his eyes, like all color. And then
this isn't funny. Is this for real? Are you making this up?
This is absolutely true. And he died right around the age of 50, not too long ago, a couple of years ago. But that's why I remember this movie. It's the only thing I have to remember that dude by, who I knew for, just a couple of years. But the other reason that I wanted to talk about this was because the Gemini is so clearly, in my opinion, based on your favorite, the Zodiac Killer.
My favorite. Stop.
You are our resident Zodiac expert.
I like Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
You deep dived.
And I admit it.
You read his book.
Guilty.
You watched the 6-part documentary series or whatever. You rabbit holed that thing hardcore. That wasn't lost on you when viewing this movie, right? Even though he was called the Gemini Killer?
That was my diversionary obsession from Dracula. That's how I take time off Dracula, is diving into the Zodiac.
But you got all that, right? The wonderful life. You understood immediately that the Gemini Killer was based on the Zodiac Killer, right?
Yeah, but wasn't the original Exorcist also supposedly based on a true exorcism?
Yes, from a little boy from the 50s.
Right, so
that's not a serial killer.
What I'm saying is that this author, and in this case director, is very fond of drawing from true stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird true parallels that go along with this movie, maybe just associations that I'm making. We also covered A Nightmare on Elm Street, and in this particular movie, an ending was tacked on as mandated by the studio, which completely blows my mind, like A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I wondered when you were watching it if you felt it. Like, I was like, okay, good jump scare, remembered for a specific reason, kind of a fan favorite, like a cult classic type movie, and based on the Zodiac Killer, which you love, and then wanted to see how you felt about how this movie was put together. It's unfair, I think, to put it up against the original Exorcist, which very few movies can touch, not compositionally, just in terms of overall effectiveness and scariness. Jason Miller wasn't in William Peter Blatty's director's cut. This is also like Dracula in that this is supposedly William Peter Blatty's Exorcist III based on his novel Legion under a completely different title. The studio forced him to add an exorcism to put Jason Miller in the role of Father Karras, a character that had died.
I don't know. Kind of props to that executive.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Most people agree that the changes that the studio mandated were justified, made it a better movie.
I think so.
The inclusion of the priest, who's only seen in a completely disconnected scene where he's in his residence or whatever, and his crucifix falls off the wall, Father Morning. There's weirdness going on when Kinderman is ultimately released from the ceiling and falls down, and Karis says, "Shoot me, Bill, shoot me now."
Yeah.
Father Morning is nowhere to be seen.
And then he second lifes it from the corner where he's like a torso.
So Bill Kinderman comes into the cell, or yeah, I guess it's a cell, and sees the Bible, and then doesn't see Father Morning in the corner, who falls over, I'm using air quotes, you can't see it, dead, right? Nothing. And then he has a whole exchange with the Gemini killer, or with Karis, and is thrown up against the wall, is thrown against the ceiling, and then miraculously Father Morning comes back to life enough to tell Damien to fight. He's on the floor and he's all bloody, and it's obvious that there was a Father Morning there because he lands, if you can use that word, on the ceiling, which is covered in Morning's blood. And then when he's released, he falls down and he shoots Karis from the floor, but Father Morning is nowhere to be seen. In fact, after his heroic grabbing of the crucifix and using the last of his energy to convince Karis to fight so that he can, fight back like he did in The Exorcist for just a moment, we never see that dude again. We cut to the cemetery at the church, the priest cemetery, I guess, and we see a tombstone where Karis has finally been laid to rest. Never hear or see anything about Father Morning again, because bro was unfortunately shoehorned, or fortunately, because this seems to be regarded as a much better version. A few years ago, they reconstructed Blatty's cut using VHS dailies, dude, where he kind of unceremoniously, from a standing position, shoots the Gemini killer dead, and thus killing and releasing Father Karis. And that's kind of it.
Wait, so is there frame by frame wonkiness where Morning should be and is not? I mean, that cell was kind of dark and the corners were always kind of falling off in shadow. Could he not have just been like nestled into the far back corner of the cell? Maybe,
but it would have to be the corner by the door, because it's very clear when we see and I counted them, 37 lightning strikes to open up the floor and bring forth Kintry.
In Blatty's version, it was only ever the kid with the Jesus wood carving?
It was never. It was a dialogue exchange with the Gemini killer and Kinderman where he shoots him dead. And it wasn't even Karis. It was Brad Dourif as the Gemini killer.
I mean, it sounds like Blatty just kind of wanted to go more noir and really make a detective mystery with some supernatural thrills and elements. Whereas, the studio wanted a full-on Exorcist movie, which is, I think, what we all kind of wanted. In Blatty's version, the climax was the showdown with the old friend and Julie at the house. And then he just comes and unceremoniously murders Gemini?
I'm not sure, because in the version that you and I watched, he sees his daughter, nearly sees her head taken off. Man, go grandma with the reflexes, am I right?
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
New Icy Hot. Nighttime recovery. Relieves pain at nighttime while your body recovers. Icy Hot. You're so back.
Is Grandma the one that pulls Julie out of the shears of death?
Yeah. Grandma saves her. Kinderman attacks the nurse who hits him. The cop gets flung across the room or gets hammered in the chest and he goes sailing. And then she tries to choke Kinderman or kill him and is only stopped because, totally separate, Father Morning enters the Gemini killer's cell.
So without Morning, it's hard to know how Blatty would have resolved the scuffle.
Right.
at the Kinderman residence.
But the demon says, morning, in the guise of the nurse. And she does that awesome thing, that Dracula thing in reverse, where how Dracula pops out of the tomb vertically, like on a lever board. She descends to the floor like that, which is an awesome effect, and I love it, and I'm not ashamed to say so. However, then we cut to morning and the scene, and we don't see Kinderman again until he shows up right after morning dies.
Yeah.
And he shows up in the hallway of the hospital, and he doesn't look distressed. It looks like he's stopping by and like, wait, why are the lights flickering? Why is there a Bible on the floor?
Yeah,
oh, there's a
but
dead guy.
I don't know. Kinderman kind of always looks like that. He'll raise an eyebrow. That's the closest he gets to a reaction.
Remember how genial Kinderman was in The Exorcist? How Grandpa Joe, Willy Wonka style, the detective was? And George C. Scott plays this really jaded and pissy. Like he's yelling all the time, "We're fine!" to the who was it? Like the waitress or something?
The nurse,
server.
I think.
Yeah, to the nurse.
Yeah, he yells at that nurse a lot, and she's like, it's cool. I'm a bitch.
Yeah, but she yells back too. I can't wait for you to leave. You treat your family like this? Oh, man.
I mean, that was all misdirect, right? We're supposed to believe that she or the creepy doctor are possessed. Was the creepy doctor possessed? I actually still don't know.
This is the one remaining question that I have. I've seen this movie a lot, and I still don't know why he's holding his cigarette like that, and why he's rehearsing where they found Thomas Kintry, found the boy down by the O&A wharf or whatever, and he was nailed to the thing. Kinderman comes in and he hides his little legal pad script and puts it in the drawer. I still don't know what's happening there. Is he trying to be cool? Is he aspiring to be a detective?
No, he doesn't know. I have a theory, and we'll see if it tracks with with one of the legions of versions of this movie. I mean, why does one have to rehearse, right? Why do actors have to rehearse? It's because they're lying with their instrument, their body, in service of a story that has a universal truth. He's rehearsing because he's lying, and he got the script presumably from Gemini, and in the overall ruse that Gemini later references to get Kinderman to go see him, to go see Gemini.
Interesting. He's under the spell of the Gemini or whatever. And then the nurse, when she shows up and Kinderman's wife says, she shows up, I open the door and she passes out. And she's like, please help me. Is it dinner time or whatever? Like, that's her kind of breaking through, right? And then Gemini re-engages and was like, it's so easy to influence the catatonic or whatever. I've been waiting for you, detective. And he uses that opportunity to have her pull the shears and try to cut Julie's head off.
Yes, because the radio repair woman, who was like, you come to repair my radio? I mean, she obviously killed Dyer.
Right.
So, yeah, he just possesses whatever old friend he needs to, or he has the opportunity to, and then he sends them to do his bidding. I'm guessing that because the doctor was kind of weak and a chain smoker, that Gemini could also get the doctor to do his bidding. The doctor was just weird. He was weird from the beginning. Yeah,
he was weird. Kinderman is consistent, and boy, that poor dude, he's super jaded, and he knows the horrible things that are being done to people, to that poor boy who he knew personally. And then he's like good friends. He's so concerned when Dyer lands in the hospital and is reading Women's Wear Daily and stuff.
He expresses that concern by being royally pissed off.
Right. Is there something you're not telling me? And then he has to watch his friend get mutilated and murdered. Well, he saw his body. He knows that he was the victim, that he was conscious, that he had the paralyzing agent in his body the same way Kintry did, and that he knew what was happening while he was being ritualistically murdered and the blood pumped out of his body, however long you live for that.
And so was Gemini just baiting and wounding Kinderman the entire time? Like, is he just toying with him?
I guess he must have been specifically, and I suppose because of his link with Karis, because the master or whatever, is the one who put the Gemini killer's spirit into Karis's body as Karis's mind was departing. he slipped me in as Karras was slipping out. But he said his mind was jelly. It took the Gemini killer, James Veneman, 15 years, which is the amount of time that Karras was in that cell, to rebuild his mind enough so that he could start influencing other people and carry out more Gemini killings. But he did so, supposedly the demon did so to punish Father Karras for exorcising either him or one of his friends, its friends, from Reagan McNeil. And I suppose in the same way, he is punishing Kinderman by going after a boy he knows, by going after Father Dyer. They just happen to have K's in their name.
Going after Julie.
Well, I guess he didn't kill Julie, but he also didn't, I don't know if her name had, she's a Kinderman.
Was Gemini a demon? Like, did he become a demon when he went into Karras's body?
No, maybe he was like a demon in training or a familiar, because he definitely did all the demonic stuff, and he seemed to be orchestrating the stuff. He talked about his friend, the evil one or whatever, but it didn't seem like, did he say they were Legion in that particular case? Because otherwise, to your point, the Gemini is influencing other people, committing murders remotely, changing his voice, singing in a falsetto, and talking in other voices. So I guess so.
Which is what Reagan did when the demon possessed her. My argument that Gemini was, Gemini and just a spirit transferred into a different body, albeit an evil one, was that, he didn't do the psychological tricks that the demon does in Exorcist I. However, he does psychologically attack Kinderman by going after all of his friends and his family. So I can kind of go both ways on if Gemini was a demon.
And the only thing we really have to go by, we can speculate, but Brad Dourif sounds awfully demony, doesn't he? There was some augmentation of his voice, but Brad Dourif, you know this dude, right?
No.
Grima Wormtongue in the Lord of the Rings, who was super slimy, but he got that role because he was Chucky in Child's Play.
What do you mean, Chucky?
Brad Dourif, the actor, was Charles Lee Ray, who in the very beginning uses his black magic or whatever to put his soul, when he's about to be caught, into a doll, and thus is the voice of Chucky. So he's super intense and super scary or whatever. But Chucky is just an M. Thregan version of Amelia from Trilogy of Terror, right?
You mean of the fetish doll?
Yeah, the Zuni fetish doll. We're getting a little bit deep here.
You're just saying the trajectory goes Zuni fetish doll, Teddy Ruxpin, Chucky to M. Thregan?
Right. He even says Child's Play, Lieutenant, in this movie.
Oh.
But so Brad Dourif is obviously scary, and he was the sole Gemini killer until they brought Jason Miller back. Just to see Father Karras's face twisted and with the demon eyes is horrific to me.
Pretty messed up.
So reprising that role in as much as he does, did it work?
Yes.
Were you okay with them cutting back and forth between these two personages?
Definitely.
Yeah, it was good. It was okay. It didn't feel like a cheat. Some of the stuff was really cool, and some of the stuff felt a little bit cheesy. During what you called a detective mystery, there wasn't a lot of scary stuff going on.
No. Not at all, for a long time.
It doesn't get dark and lights flickery until really the exorcism.
But then it kind of goes nuts. It goes a little bit bonkers after that.
Right.
Which is I don't know if that's inexperience or that's just artistic restraint.
So in a strange way, the addition of Jason Miller, the actor's inclusion of this movie and Father what's his name? Sunrise, Daylight, Sunshine.
Morning.
And the exorcism itself, I can't tell if it was well placed because the entire movie feels a little bit shoehorny.
now that you mention it, sure, maybe I can kind of like retcon my own opinion about it. But I think if there was anything that felt shoehorny to me or just awkward in general, I just kind of chalked up to it being dated. Father Karras is kind of bear handsome, don't you think? He's in the bear category.
Like a hairy gay dude?
No, remember? No. Remember you sent me that
the
meme?
animal. The dudes have animal characteristics. Bear handsome. Got it. Yeah, not to be confused with like wolf handsome or what else. Yeah, he's kind of round faced.
It was
and
dog.
Kind of mushy.
It was dog, bear,
Crocodile.
something else, and then my favorite, which I kind of realized, Wes, all of the guys I think are good looking are eagle handsome.
Eagle handsome?
Yes, Brian is 100% an eagle.
Okay, fine. But you're going with bear handsome for Jason Miller. Now, is that to say that you think he is handsome or he's just bear handsome?
I do think in a weird way he's handsome, but in this movie he was just so sympathetic. I felt so bad for him, and when they talked about him being in there, whether that was just to mess with Kinderman or not, it seemed like they proved, that he was in there at the end. Like, I felt so bad for him. It's like the heart of the movie.
When Father Karras, who played such a big role in The Exorcist, showed up again as the possessed, I was like, whoa. Do you know that Jason Miller, as previously discussed, father of Jason Patrick of the Lost Boys fame? Check out Vampire Month this year, just a month ago, at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. You know that dude, playwright and actor, won the Pulitzer Prize?
Really?
Yep, for a play he did in the 70s, and then was nominated for Father Karras in The Exorcist. 15 years later, when he does Karras again for The Exorcist III, there was some speculation, I think greatly exaggerated, that his health was in such decline that they needed Brad Dourif to bring the heat. That doesn't seem to be true, but what is true is that he was kind of having a rough time, and I believe looks pretty rough from a beyond a patient X perspective who's not having a good life. But I think he was pretty deep into alcoholism at that point and wasn't doing well. Because that dude is about 51 in this movie when it was being filmed. But you're saying he's bear handsome.
Yeah, I mean, he was in 1 at least, and he's very sympathetic in 3.
It's because he has a round face and a kind face, as that lady inexplicably tells George C. Scott, who has not a kind face in this movie.
And your final rating on your favorite movie? I guess it's a totally, right?
I find its history and this weird adaptation thing and the author's name being attached like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I find all that stuff kind of fascinating, how it came together in a movie that I actually like. But then you go back and watch The Exorcist and you're like, oh, that's why we're here. Because of how effective The Exorcist was 15 years before, and some of that goodwill has transferred. And that's okay. I like Exorcist III for very different reasons and wanted a completely fresh take on your part to see if you found it interesting, scary, a little bit disjointed, and what you thought about touching on a classic so many years later.
The movie was definitely scary, and in some ways I think a better kind of scary than in the original Exorcist. I could kind of do without the really gross stuff that happens in Exorcist 1. And we don't get a ton of that here. I mean, Mourning being like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you call that, when Mourning's like skinned off of the ceiling or something like that. That's pretty gnarly.
The demon removed his skull so that when his scalp peels away, there's brain underneath.
I can do without the projectile vomiting, so I'm kind of down with Exorcist 3. I might even put it up there as more interesting in some ways than
You're
the
not
original
alone.
Exorcist. It's the best kind of sequel that in what I consider to be your system, in that it advances the story, it retreads just enough that it delivers on the Exorcist expectation without being a total retread. Pretty solid, Exorcist 3. And that's our discussion on Exorcist 3 or The Exorcist 3 Legion here at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. 818-835-0473 is how you get in touch with us. Thank you for listening to this discussion. Thank you for enjoying Halloween 2025 here at Or Whatever Movies. And thank you for checking out the Powers of Darkness podcast playing now wherever you get podcasts. And thanks for listening. Happy Halloween. I'm Iris, your host of the Powers of Darkness podcast. Who wrote the mysterious lost version of Dracula? A group of historical researchers and authors will do anything to find out. Lust, money, betrayal, power. It's all here in the Powers of Darkness podcast. Available October 2025.
Ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Do you have a business or a message you want to share with the world?
Well, now it's easier than ever with Electrocast. Hi, I'm Mark Netter.
And I'm Peter Rafelson. We're the founders of Electrocast Media.
Whether you want to start a new podcast or already have one, join Electrocast to grow your audience, monetize your content, and build your community.
With our simple sign-up, you get free promotion, world-class analytics, premium ads, and personal support.
Go to electrocast.com and join our community today.
Electrocast. Transform your influence.
Electrocast.